The 15 alchemical principles for reclaiming your sacred birthright to wealth. Do you feel it? That quiet nagging tension in your soul. You meditate. You practice gratitude. You consider yourself a deeply spiritual person. And yet, when you think about money, real substantial wealth, a feeling of unease creeps in, guilt, shame, a voice that whispers, "Is it okay to want this? Am I being materialistic?" That inner conflict, that silent war between your spiritual values and your desire for financial freedom, is the single greatest block to your abundance. And it is a lie. Today we embark on a journey not of acquisition, but of remembrance. We will not learn tricks to get more money. Instead, we will perform a kind of sacred alchemy upon the soul itself. We will take the lead weight of guilt, shame, and unworthiness that you have carried for so long, and we will transmute it into the pure, radiant gold of deservingness. This is a full guide, a map through the 15 essential principles for reclaiming what was always yours, your sacred birthright to wealth. Stay with me through this entire journey. Allow these principles to wash over you, to challenge you, and ultimately to set you free. For at the end of this process lies a state of being where abundance flows to you and through you, as naturally and as effortlessly as breath itself. Let us begin. Principle 1. The great conflict of spirit and wealth. Let's start right at the heart of the matter. The wound itself. For so many of us on a path of conscious evolution, there is a painful paradox we live with every single day. On one hand, we are drawn to lives of meaning, purpose, and connection. We value inner peace over outer chaos. We understand that true happiness doesn't come from things. And on the other hand, we live in a world that requires resources. We have dreams. We want to provide for our families, to travel, to create without constraint, to contribute to causes we believe in. We desire financial freedom, and these two desires often feel like they are locked in a brutal, unending war within us. This isn't your fault. It's a deep, cultural and historical program that has been running for centuries. We have been handed down stories from our religions, our philosophies, our families that equate piety with poverty and wealth with wickedness. The image of the humble holy man in rags is contrasted with the greedy, soulless tycoon. We are told it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And so we internalize this belief. To be good, to be spiritual, I must reject wealth. To desire money is to be somehow tainted. I remember a client I once worked with, a wonderfully gifted energy healer. She could create profound shifts in her clients, yet she could barely pay her rent. She told me, "Elias, every time I create an invoice, I feel this wave of shame. Like I'm tainting this sacred gift by putting a price on it." Her hands would literally tremble. The problem wasn't her skill, her value, or her marketing. The problem was this deep subconscious belief that her spirituality and her ability to receive money were enemies. She was living in the great conflict. And what is the result of this inner war? Resistance. You might use affirmations. You might visualize. You might follow all the steps of the law of attraction for money. But if your deep core programming says money is unspiritual, you're driving a car with one foot on the accelerator and the other slammed on the brake. You create a powerful, energetic push-pull. You call abundance in with your conscious mind, and you violently repel it with your subconscious belief system. It's exhausting, and it's why you feel stuck. So the very first principle of this alchemical work is simply this: acknowledgement. You must see the battlefield for what it is. You must look this conflict square in the eye and say, I see you. You are not broken. You are not materialistic for wanting a better life. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And that experience includes a reality where resources create freedom and possibility. The journey to wealth does not begin by chasing money. It begins by making peace within yourself. It starts by declaring a ceasefire in this ancient, unnecessary war. From this place of peace, and only from this place, can we begin the real work of transformation. Principle 2. Redefining sacred entitlement. Now we come to a word that will likely make you uncomfortable, a word that has been weaponized and distorted. That word is entitlement. For most, entitlement conjures the image of someone who is spoiled, arrogant, demanding something they haven't earned. It feels like the absolute opposite of spiritual humility. And if that is your definition, then of course you would reject it. But in our alchemical work, we must reclaim and purify our language. We are going to redefine this word, and in doing so, unlock one of the most powerful forces for manifestation. We are going to explore the concept of sacred entitlement. Sacred entitlement has nothing to do with arrogance. It has nothing to do with demanding things from the world. It is the absolute opposite. It is a quiet, profound, unshakable inner knowing. It is the remembrance of your true nature. Think of it this way. Does a rose feel guilty for blooming? Does it apologize for its fragrance or its beauty? Does the sun ask for permission to shine? No, they simply express their innate nature. Their existence is their entitlement. You, as a spark of the divine, as a unique expression of universal consciousness, are born with an inherent right to thrive. Not just to survive, to thrive. Abundance of love, of joy, of health, of creativity, and yes, of financial resources is the natural state of the universe. Look at a forest. It is riotously abundant. Look at the stars. They are uncountable. Scarcity is a human invention, a story we have told ourselves, a program we have run until we believe it is reality. Sacred entitlement is the process of unlearning that story. It is the humble acceptance of your birthright. It's not a loud declaration of "I deserve this." That comes from the ego. It is a deep, resonant, cellular hum of "I am this." It is the calm confidence that comes from knowing you are an intrinsic part of an infinitely abundant universe. And therefore, you are worthy of receiving that abundance. This is a critical distinction. The ego-driven person who feels entitled believes the world owes them something. They operate from a place of lack, trying to extract value. The person who embodies sacred entitlement knows they are already whole and complete. They operate from a place of resonance, allowing value to flow to them and through them. It is a state of allowance, not of demand. If you struggle with this, I understand. I once did too. I used to think that wanting less, needing less, was a sign of spiritual advancement. I wore my scarcity like a badge of honor. But then I realized something profound. By playing small, by rejecting abundance, who was I serving? I couldn't contribute more. I couldn't help more people. I couldn't create more freely. My false humility was actually a form of spiritual selfishness. It was about my image of being good, not about my actual impact on the world. Embracing your sacred entitlement is an act of service. When you allow yourself to receive, you have more to give. When you are financially free, you can make decisions based on purpose, not on panic. So the second principle is this: You must gently, patiently begin to reclaim your entitlement. See it not as a sin, but as a sacred remembrance of your connection to Source. It is the foundational frequency upon which all true prosperity is built. Principle 3. Unearthing the spiritual roots of money. Guilt. To heal a wound, you cannot simply put a bandage on it. You must first understand where the injury came from. You must be willing to look at the source of the infection. And the guilt you feel around money is a deep infection of the spirit, one with ancient roots. So, where does it come from? We touched upon the broad cultural programming, but let's go deeper. For many, the roots are deeply entangled with our earliest experiences of morality and spirituality. Think back to your childhood. What were the stories you were told about good people and bad people? Often in fairy tales and religious texts, the villain is the greedy king, the miserly landlord, the one obsessed with gold. The hero, in contrast, is often poor but pure of heart. The message is simple and powerful. Money corrupts. Purity lies in poverty. This creates a subconscious equation in our minds. Money, bad. Love, spirituality, good. Therefore, to be loved, to be good, to be worthy of spiritual connection, I must reject money. Or at least I must feel terribly guilty for wanting it. This isn't a logical process. It's an emotional, archetypal program running deep in the background of your consciousness. It's a survival mechanism. Your subconscious is trying to keep you good so that you remain worthy of love and connection. It believes it is protecting you by keeping you away from the corrupting influence of wealth. Another root is the concept of noble suffering. Many spiritual traditions have, at their core, an emphasis on asceticism, on detachment from worldly things, on finding liberation through renunciation. And while the wisdom of non-attachment is profound and true, it has been misinterpreted. The goal is not to renounce money itself, but to renounce your attachment to it. The goal is not to be poor, but to know that your true self, your true worth, is not dependent on your bank balance. But we simplified the message. We turned it into, to be holy you must suffer. To be spiritual you must lack. This belief turns money into a spiritual test. If you have it, you must have somehow failed the test. You must have chosen the material world over the spiritual one. And the guilt is the evidence of your perceived failure. I once guided a woman through a process to uncover her core money block. She was a successful executive, but she gave away her money almost as fast as she made it, always ending up in a state of financial anxiety. Through our work, we traced her block back to a single memory. As a child in a religious class, she heard a story about a rich man who was selfish and a poor woman who gave her last coin and was praised for it. In her 7-year-old mind, the message was locked in. To be good in God's eyes, I must give everything away. Having savings is selfish. As an adult, her subconscious was still running that 7-year-old's program, protecting her from being the bad rich man in the story. It was a revelation that brought her to tears. That's how deep these roots can go. So the third principle is an archaeological dig into your own soul. You must become a detective of your own past. Ask yourself, what were the first stories I heard about money? What was the attitude of my parents or community toward wealthy people? Was wealth seen as a blessing or a burden? Was it a source of joy or a source of conflict? Do not judge what you find. Simply observe. Bring these old, dusty beliefs out into the light, because a belief that operates in the darkness of the subconscious has absolute power over you. But a belief that is brought into the light of conscious awareness can be examined, it can be questioned, and it can be healed. This is the essential work of unearthing the roots of your guilt. Principle 4. Shattering the myth of unworthiness. Beneath the guilt, beneath the conflict, there lies an even deeper, more primal belief. It is the bedrock of all scarcity. It is the great lie that keeps humanity in chains. And that lie is the myth of unworthiness, the belief that you are at your core somehow not enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not deserving enough to receive the abundance you desire. This feeling of unworthiness is the soil in which every money block grows. You can plant the most beautiful seeds of intention, but if the soil is poisoned with unworthiness, nothing will flourish. How does this myth take hold? It begins early. A parent says, "We can't afford that." You don't hear a statement of fact about their cash flow. You hear a judgment on your desire. What you want is too much. A teacher praises another student's work and ignores yours. You internalize, "I'm not as valuable as they are." Society bombards us with images of perfection, the perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect life, and we inevitably fall short. With each comparison, a little piece of our innate worthiness is chipped away. In the spiritual context, this gets even more twisted. We create a new set of goalposts for worthiness. I will be worthy when I meditate every day. I will be worthy when I have healed all my trauma. I will be worthy when I am more compassionate, less angry, more generous. We turn spiritual growth into another performance, another way to earn a worthiness that can never be earned. Because it is already ours. This is the ultimate spiritual trap. The universe, God, source, whatever you call it, does not operate on a system of merit. It operates on a system of resonance. It does not give you what you deserve. It gives you what you are. If you are broadcasting a frequency of unworthiness, you can only attract experiences and circumstances that validate that feeling. You will attract jobs that underpay you, business partners who betray you, and unexpected expenses that drain your savings. The universe is not punishing you. It is simply giving you a perfect reflection of the energy you are emitting. I want you to really let that sink in. Your financial reality is a mirror of your deepest beliefs about your own worth. If you find that statement uncomfortable, good. That means we're touching on a truth that needs to be healed. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a beautiful cup, but it's filled with mud. You can stand under a waterfall of pure, clean water, representing universal abundance, but the water that fills your cup will only become muddy. Is it the waterfall's fault? Of course not. The work is not to make the waterfall give you cleaner water. The work is to clean out your cup. Shattering the myth of unworthiness is the process of cleaning your energetic cup. It is the conscious, deliberate act of challenging every single thought, feeling, and memory that tells you you are not enough. It's not a one-time event. It is a dedicated practice. A practice of self-forgiveness. A practice of celebrating small wins. A practice of looking in the mirror and speaking words of kindness to yourself, even when it feels like a lie. I had a client who was brilliant, a genius in his field, but he was always broke. We discovered his core belief was, "I'm only valuable for what I can do, not for who I am." He was constantly working, hustling, burning himself out to prove his worth. The alchemical shift for him was to start scheduling time to do absolutely nothing, to just be. It was excruciating for him at first. He felt lazy, unproductive, and unworthy. But slowly, by repeatedly choosing to value his being over his doing, he began to clean out his cup. And as he did, opportunities began to flow to him. Opportunities that were easier, more aligned, and far more lucrative. He didn't work harder. He became worthier. So the fourth principle is this: your primary work is not on your finances. It is on your sense of self. You must go to war against the myth of unworthiness. Every other principle we discuss will be built upon this foundation. Your wealth will never, ever outgrow your self-worth. Principle 5. The Alchemy of Spiritual Finance. Now that we have unearthed the blocks, the conflict, the guilt, the myth of unworthiness, we can begin the true alchemical work. Alchemy, at its heart, is the art of transmutation. It is about taking one substance, one energy, one state of being, and transforming it into another. We are not here to destroy our limiting beliefs. You cannot fight darkness with more darkness. We are here to transmute them, to turn the lead of our financial pain into the gold of our prosperity. This is the principle of spiritual finance. It is the understanding that money is not paper, not numbers on a screen. Money is energy. That is all it is. It is a neutral, flowing current of creative potential. It is not good, it is not bad. It is a magnifier. It simply makes you more of who you already are. If you are fearful and greedy, money will magnify that. If you are generous and creative, money will magnify that. The problem has never been money. The problem has been our relationship to the energy of money. Spiritual finance is the practice of consciously and deliberately changing that relationship. It involves 3 key shifts. The first shift is from seeing money as an object to seeing money as a flow. We are taught to think of money as a thing we have to get. We accumulate it, we hoard it, we hold on to it tightly. This creates a stagnant, fearful energy. It's like trying to capture a river in a bucket. The river is meant to flow. Spiritual finance teaches us to see ourselves not as a bucket but as a channel. Our purpose is to allow the energy of money to flow to us and through us. The more freely and consciously we allow it to flow through us, to pay our bills with gratitude, to invest in our growth, to contribute to others, the wider our channel becomes, and the more can flow in. The goal is not to have a big pile of money. The goal is to become a wide-open channel for its flow. The second shift is from transaction to co-creation. In the old paradigm, every exchange of money is a transaction. I give you this, you give me that. There is often a winner and a loser, a sense of getting the better deal. In spiritual finance, every exchange is an act of co-creation. When you buy a coffee from a small cafe, you are not just transacting. You are co-creating. You are affirming the value of the barista's work, supporting the owner's dream, participating in the life of your community. You are blessing them with your resources, and they are blessing you with their service. When you see every single financial exchange in this light, your relationship with money changes profoundly. Spending is no longer a source of anxiety. It becomes an act of conscious participation in the flow of value in the world. The third shift is from earning to aligning. The hustle culture tells you that you must earn your wealth through struggle, sacrifice, and relentless effort. Spiritual finance teaches that you attract wealth through alignment. This means aligning your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, and your actions with the frequency of abundance. It's not about working harder. It's about vibrating higher. It's about doing the deep inner work to heal your unworthiness so that you become a vibrational match for the prosperity that is already seeking you. Yes, this will lead to action, but it will be inspired, joyful, and effective action, not desperate, draining hustle. I know this might challenge everything you've been taught. It's okay to feel a sense of resistance. This is a radical reimagining of our financial lives. But this is the alchemy. You take the dense, heavy energy of earning and transacting and getting, and you transmute it into the light. Expansive energy of aligning, co-creating, and flowing. This is not just a mind game. This is a fundamental shift in your energetic signature. And it is this shift that changes everything. Principle 6, transmuting shame into sovereign worth. We have spoken of guilt and unworthiness. Now we must address their toxic cousin, shame. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is about an action. Shame is about your identity. And when it comes to money, shame is one of the most paralyzing forces there is. It is the shame of past financial mistakes, the bad investment, the failed business, the mountain of debt. It's the shame of not having as much as your friends or family. It's the shame of wanting more than you have, which your inner critic labels as greed. This shame is a heavy, suffocating cloak. It keeps you hidden. It makes you afraid to look at your bank statements, to talk about money, to ask for what you're worth. It convinces you that you are fundamentally flawed, and your financial situation is the proof. The alchemical process for transforming shame is not to fight it. Fighting shame only gives it more power. You cannot shame yourself into feeling worthy. The transmutation of shame requires a powerful and seemingly paradoxical ingredient: radical acceptance. Sovereign worth is the state of being that knows its value is inherent, unconditional, and non-negotiable. It is not dependent on your bank balance, your job title, your past, or your productivity. It just is. It is the part of you that is the eternal observer, the spark of the divine. And this part of you is incapable of being shamed. The path to sovereign worth is through feeling and releasing the shame, not by pretending it isn't there. This process has 2 steps: feeling and reframing. First, you must be willing to feel the shame. Most of us will do anything to avoid this feeling. We distract ourselves, we numb ourselves, we blame others. The brave path is to sit with it, to locate the feeling of shame in your body. Where is it? A tightness in your chest? A knot in your stomach? A heat in your face? Close your eyes and just be with that physical sensation. Don't judge it. Don't try to make it go away. Simply breathe into it. Acknowledge it. Hello, shame. I feel you. By doing this, you are separating your identity, your sovereign self, from the emotion. You are not the shame. You are the one who is observing the shame. This simple act of mindful observation begins to dissolve its power. You are showing your nervous system that you can handle this feeling, that it will not destroy you. The second step is reframing. Once you have sat with the feeling, you can begin to work with the story attached to it. Every feeling of shame is tied to a story. I am a failure because my business didn't succeed. I'm irresponsible because I have credit card debt. The alchemical reframe is to find the lesson, the strength or the gift in that story. For example, take the failed business. The shame story is, I'm a failure. The alchemical reframe is, that experience taught me more about resilience than any success ever could. I'm not a failure. I'm a courageous person who was willing to take a risk for a dream. I'm now wiser and stronger. Take the credit card debt. The shame story is, I am irresponsible. The reframe could be, that debt was the result of me trying to survive the best way I knew how at the time. I forgive myself. That experience is now my greatest teacher about conscious stewardship of money. I am not irresponsible. I'm a person who is learning and growing. This is not about lying to yourself. It is about telling a truer, more compassionate, more empowering story. It is about extracting the wisdom from the wound. Each time you do this, you take a piece of your power back from the shame. You are literally transmuting the dense energy of the past into the fuel for your future. This is deep work. It requires courage and compassion, but it is non-negotiable. You cannot build a palace of prosperity on a foundation of shame. The sixth principle is a declaration of independence from your past. You transmute shame by feeling it without judgment and reframing it with wisdom. You do this until you stand fully in your sovereign worth, unshakable and whole. Principle 7, reprogramming the subconscious for sacred abundance. Your conscious mind is the captain of the ship. It sets the destination. It says, I want to be wealthy. I want financial freedom. But your subconscious mind is the crew in the engine room, controlling 95% of the ship's operations. If the crew has a different set of instructions, old maps, outdated beliefs, programs that say we are not worthy of that destination, then no matter how loudly the captain yells, the ship will stay its course or go around in circles. This is why positive thinking alone often fails. You can stand in front of the mirror repeating, I am wealthy 1,000 times. But if your subconscious programming is screaming, no, you're not, you're broke and undeserving, which voice do you think will win? The one you've been practicing for decades. Reprogramming the subconscious is the core mechanical process of this alchemical work. We must go down into the engine room and give the crew a new set of instructions, a new map. A map that leads to the shores of sacred abundance. The language of the subconscious is not logic and words. It is emotion, imagery, and repetition. Therefore, the tools we use must speak this language. The first and most powerful tool is visualization, but not just daydreaming. I'm talking about deep sensory emotional visualization. You must not just see your desired reality. You must feel it in every cell of your body. What does financial freedom feel like? Not the things you will buy. The feeling. Is it peace? Is it security? Is it a sense of expansive freedom in your chest? Is it the joy of being able to give generously without a second thought? You must take time each day, preferably just before sleep or upon waking, when the veil between conscious and subconscious is thin, to step into that feeling state. See your life through the eyes of your future abundant self. Feel the calm confidence as you look at your bank account. Feel the gratitude as you pay for a loved one's vacation. Feel the deep sense of peace knowing that you are completely supported. The more you can generate the feeling of having it now, the more you are impressing this new reality upon your subconscious. You are giving the crew a new destination by letting them taste what it feels like to be there. The second tool is affirmations, but with a crucial upgrade. Standard affirmations like I am wealthy can sometimes create more conflict if your subconscious violently rejects them. A more powerful approach is to use what are called affirmations, which are affirmations in the form of a question. Instead of saying I am wealthy, you ask, why is it so easy for me to attract wealth? Do you see the difference? The first is a statement that your mind can argue with. The second is a question that your mind is compelled to answer. It bypasses the inner critic and sends your subconscious on a search for positive answers. Why do I feel so deserving of abundance? Why do incredible opportunities flow to me so effortlessly? Your mind will start to look for evidence to support these questions, and in doing so, begins to rewire itself. The third tool is embodiment. This means acting as if. How would the wealthy, abundant, spiritually aligned version of you act today? How would they walk? How would they speak? How would they make decisions? This doesn't mean being reckless with your money. It means operating from the energy of your future self. It might mean choosing the slightly more expensive organic coffee, not because you can necessarily afford it, but as a declaration to the universe and to yourself, I am worthy of nourishing my body with the best. It might mean dressing a little better, cleaning your workspace, or speaking with more authority and calm. These small acts of embodiment send a powerful signal to your subconscious. This is who we are now. I often tell my clients to create an alter ego of their future self. Give them a name. What would Quantum David do in this situation? This little bit of playful separation makes it easier to step into the new energy without the baggage of your old identity. Reprogramming the subconscious is not a quick fix. It is a consistent, dedicated practice. Like going to the gym for your mind, you are carving new neural pathways. You are giving the crew in the engine room new, clear, and compelling instructions day after day. This is the seventh principle. You must become the master programmer of your own mind. Through feeling state visualization, powerful affirmations, and daily acts of embodiment, you will rewrite the code of scarcity and install the software of sacred abundance. Mid-transcript CTA 1. If this journey is resonating with you, if you feel a shift beginning to happen within you, take a moment to share this audiobook with someone you know who is on a similar path. The energy of this work grows when it is shared. Now let's continue our transmutation. Principle 8. The ritual of release. The human mind is like a garden. We've spent time reprogramming, planting new seeds of abundance and worthiness. But if the garden is full of weeds, old resentments, past failures, lingering regrets, the new seeds will struggle to grow. Before we can fully embrace the new, we must consciously and deliberately release the old. This is not a passive process. It requires a sacred act. It requires ritual. Ritual has been a part of human spirituality for millennia for a reason. Rituals are the way we signal to our subconscious mind and to the universe that we are serious about a change. They are physical acts that represent a profound inner shift. They take an intention out of the realm of thought and ground it into physical reality. The ritual of release is about letting go of the energetic baggage of your financial past. This includes forgiving others, but most importantly, it involves forgiving yourself. You may be holding on to anger towards a parent for the scarcity beliefs they taught you. You may resent a former business partner who cheated you. You may be furious with yourself for past mistakes. This resentment is a toxic poison. It doesn't harm them. It keeps you anchored to a low vibrational state. Forgiveness is not about condoning their behavior. Forgiveness is about cutting the energetic cord that binds you to that pain, setting yourself free. Here is a simple but powerful ritual of release you can perform. First, find a time and space where you will not be disturbed. This is sacred time. Light a candle, play some calming music. Create an atmosphere that signals to your mind that this is important. Second, take a piece of paper and a pen. At the top, write, "I am now willing to release." Then let it flow. Write down every single financial resentment, fear, and regret you can think of. Don't censor yourself. Be brutally honest. I release the anger I feel toward my father for telling me artists always starve. I release the shame of my bankruptcy. I release the fear that I will always be in debt. I release my resentment towards my old boss for underpaying me. I release the guilt I feel for wanting more than my parents had. Write until you feel empty, until every poison has been drawn out onto the page. Third, read the list aloud. Give voice to the pain. Let yourself feel the emotions associated with each item one last time. This is the final honoring of that pain before you let it go. You might cry. You might feel angry. Let it move through you. Fourth, and this is the crucial step, you must safely burn the paper. Fire is the ultimate element of transmutation. As you watch the paper burn, visualize the energetic cords attached to these old stories, dissolving. See the smoke carrying away the dense energy of the past. As it burns, say aloud, I forgive everyone involved, including myself. I release this past with love and gratitude for the lessons it taught me. I am now free. It is done. Finally, take a moment to sit in the empty space you have created. Feel the lightness. Feel the freedom. This is the fertile ground where your new seeds of abundance can now take root without being choked by the weeds of the past. You can perform this ritual as often as you need to. Every time a new layer of resentment or fear comes up, you can meet it with this sacred practice. The eighth principle is clear. You cannot carry the weight of the past into your abundant future. Through the power of ritual, you must consciously release the energetic anchors that have been holding you back. This act of forgiveness is the ultimate act of financial self-love. Principle 9. Aligning wealth with your soul's purpose. Here is a deep truth that the hustle culture will never teach you. Money, for its own sake, will never satisfy the soul. A bank account full of digits has no inherent meaning. This is why we see so many people who are fantastically wealthy, yet deeply miserable. They have won the outer game, but have completely neglected the inner one. True, sustainable, joyful abundance arises when the pursuit of wealth is no longer the primary goal. It becomes the natural byproduct of a life lived on purpose. When your financial desires are deeply and authentically aligned with your soul's purpose, your reason for being here, you unlock a motivational force and an attractive power that is beyond anything the ego can generate. So, what is your soul's purpose? This is the great question, and it's not as complicated as it seems. Your purpose is not some grand, singular job title you have to find. Your purpose is the unique energetic frequency that you are here to express. It is found at the intersection of three things: what you are uniquely good at, your gifts; what you absolutely love to do, your passions; how you feel called to serve the world, your contribution. When you are operating from this intersection, you enter a state of flow. Work no longer feels like work. You are so engaged, so lit up by what you are doing, that you become a magnetic force. You are channeling a pure, high-vibrational energy into the world. And the universe, in its infinite law of reciprocity, reflects that value back to you in the form of money. Money becomes a simple feedback mechanism, affirming, yes, you are on the right path. Keep going. This is a profound shift from chasing money. When you chase money, you often end up taking jobs you hate, serving people you don't like, and compromising your values. You are operating from a frequency of lack and desperation, and you attract more circumstances that feel the same. When you focus on aligning with your purpose, you start asking different questions. Instead of, what can I do to make the most money? You ask, how can I use my gifts to serve in the most joyful and impactful way? Instead of, what does the market want? You ask, what does my soul want to create? I worked with a lawyer who was making a great income, but was dying inside. His work was meaningless to him. We did the deep work of uncovering his purpose, and he realized his true gifts were in coaching and mentoring young people. It was a terrifying leap for him to leave his secure career. He started small, coaching on the side, but because he was so passionate, so aligned, his practice exploded. Within 2 years, he was making more money than he ever did as a lawyer, and he was filled with a sense of joy and fulfillment he had never known. He didn't chase the money. He pursued his purpose, and the money followed. Now, I know the fear that comes up here. But my passion can't make money. I have to be realistic. That is the voice of your old programming. That is the scarcity mindset trying to keep you safe in your comfortable prison. The 9th principle is a call to courage. It asks you to have the audacity to believe that your greatest joy and your greatest prosperity are found in the same place. Your task is to get quiet, to listen to the whispers of your soul. What are you truly here to do? What unique value are you here to express? Start by taking small, aligned actions. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow, but you can start that blog. You can take that art class. You can volunteer for that cause. Each step you take in the direction of your purpose shifts your energy. It tells the universe that you are ready, and the universe will always meet you halfway. When your wealth is aligned with your soul, it is no longer just money. It becomes sacred fuel for a life of meaning. Principle 10. The path of inspired action. There is a dangerous misunderstanding within some spiritual and manifestation communities. It's the idea that you can simply sit on your meditation cushion, visualize $1 million, and wait for it to fall from the sky. This is a fantasy. It's a bypass of a crucial alchemical stage. The universe does not respond to your thoughts alone. It responds to your energy in motion, and energy in motion is action. But, and this is the critical distinction, there are 2 kinds of action. There is the frantic, desperate, grinding action of the hustle mindset, and there is the calm, joyful, effective action of the inspired path. They may look similar on the outside, but their energetic signature and their results are worlds apart. Hustle action comes from a place of lack, is fueled by fear. If I don't work 18 hours a day, I'll fail. If I don't force this to happen, it won't. It feels heavy, like pushing a boulder uphill. It leads to burnout, resentment, and often mediocre results because its underlying frequency is, I don't have it. Inspired action, on the other hand, comes from a place of alignment and trust. It is the natural, effortless next step that appears after you have done the inner work. It feels light, exciting, and resonant. It's not something you have to force yourself to do. It's something you feel pulled to do. It feels like catching a wave and riding it rather than trying to swim against the current. So how do you know the difference? The key is to check in with your body and your emotions. Before you take an action, ask yourself, does this feel expansive or contractive? Does the thought of doing this make my energy rise with excitement, or does it make my stomach clench with anxiety? Does it feel like a should or a wow yes? Your body is an incredible barometer for truth. Learn to listen to its wisdom. The process looks like this. Set the intention, clarity. You do the inner work. You get clear on what you want to create, and more importantly, the feeling you want to experience. Align your energy, vibration. You practice the principles. You heal your unworthiness. You visualize. You embody the feeling of your desire fulfilled. You surrender the how and when to the universe. Listen and observe reception. You pay attention. The universe will start to send you signals. An idea that pops into your head in the shower. A chance encounter with someone. An email that seems to arrive at the perfect time. These are the nudges. These are the breadcrumbs. Take the inspired action, motion. When you receive a nudge that feels light, resonant, and expansive, you act on it, immediately, without hesitation or overthinking. It might be a small step. Call that person. Write that first page. Register that domain name. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step that feels good. I remember when I was first building this channel, I had the vision, I had the intention, but I was stuck in analysis paralysis, trying to figure out the perfect strategy. It felt heavy. It was hustle energy. One morning in meditation, after surrendering the problem, a single clear thought came through. Just record the first one. Use your phone. Don't worry about the quality. Just share the message. The idea felt incredibly light and freeing. It was an inspired action. I recorded the first audio that day. It wasn't perfect, but it was the start. That one inspired step unlocked the momentum for everything that followed. The 10th principle is a dance between being and doing, between surrender and action. Do the deep inner work of alignment, and then trust the guidance you receive. When the impulse comes and it feels right in your body, act on it with faith. This is how you co-create with the universe. You are the one who steers the ship with your intention, but the universe is the wind that fills your sails. You must be willing to raise the anchor and set your course when the wind of inspiration blows. Principle 11. The practice of conscious stewardship. What if I told you that the way you manage the $10 in your wallet right now determines how the universe will entrust you with 10 million? This is the principle of conscious stewardship. It is the understanding that the universe will not give you more of what you are currently mismanaging. How you treat the energy of money in any amount sends a powerful message about your readiness to receive more. Many people have a fantasy that once they get a lot of money, they will suddenly become responsible, organized, and generous. It doesn't work that way. You must first become the person who is capable of responsibly and lovingly managing great wealth, and then the wealth shows up. You must demonstrate your trustworthiness with what you have now. Conscious stewardship is the opposite of unconscious financial behavior. Unconscious behavior is driven by fear, impulse, and shame. It's the mindless scrolling and impulse buying to numb a bad feeling. It's the avoidance of looking at your bank statements because you're afraid of what you'll see. It's the hoarding of money out of a deep-seated fear of lack. Conscious stewardship is about bringing mindfulness, gratitude, and intention to every single financial interaction. It has 3 core practices. First, honoring your money. This means treating your money with respect, as a physical representation of life energy. It's practical. It means keeping your wallet clean and organized. It means smoothing out your bills instead of crumpling them. On a deeper level, it means tracking where your money goes. Not from a place of restrictive budgeting and scarcity, but from a place of loving awareness. When you know where your money is flowing, you are honoring it. You are saying, I see you, I value you, I am paying attention. This simple act of tracking can be one of the most transformative financial habits you can adopt. Second, gratitude for every exchange. We touched on this earlier, but it is a central pillar of stewardship. Every time money leaves your hand, whether it's to pay a bill or buy groceries, you must practice gratitude. Instead of feeling a pang of loss when you pay your electricity bill, you consciously shift your perspective. You say, thank you for the warmth, the light, the power that runs my computer and connects me to the world. I gratefully pay for this incredible service. When you pay for food, you say, thank you to the farmers, the truck drivers, the grocery store workers. Thank you for this nourishment. This practice transforms every act of spending from a depletion into an affirmation of the abundance already present in your life. It keeps you in a high vibrational state of appreciation. Third, intentional allocation. This is about consciously deciding what you want your money to do. It's about creating a plan for your resources that reflects your values and your goals. This isn't a rigid budget. It's a conscious flow plan. You might create separate accounts or containers for different purposes. An account for joyful living, an account for financial freedom, investments, an account for generosity, an account for growth, courses, books. By giving every dollar a purpose that aligns with your soul, you are telling your money and the universe that you are a conscious and deliberate creator. You are not just a passive consumer. A client of mine was trapped in a cycle of debt and anxiety. She never felt like she had enough. I asked her to start a prosperity jar. Every single day she was to put $1 bill into it, just one. And as she did, she had to say, I am a powerful and responsible steward of my wealth. At first, it felt ridiculous to her. But after a few weeks, something shifted. That small daily act of intentionally setting aside money for her prosperity began to change her identity. She started to see herself as someone who could save, someone who was a good steward. That shift in identity changed her behavior in all other areas of her finances. The 11th principle is simple but not easy. You must become a masterful steward of the resources you have right now, no matter how small they may seem. Honor your money, be grateful for its flow, and allocate it with intention. Prove to yourself and to the universe that you are ready for more. Principle 12. The Forgiveness Ledger for Financial Healing. We have performed the ritual of release to let go of the big, overarching stories of our past. Now, we must do a more detailed, specific kind of healing. We must address the individual, financial wounds that still fester within our energy field. Every time you made a mistake with money, every time you felt cheated or betrayed, a small, energetic debt was created in your own personal ledger. And this isn't about real debt. It's about emotional and spiritual debt. It's the debt of self-blame, regret, and resentment. The forgiveness ledger is a powerful practice for clearing these specific energetic debts one by one. It is a process of deep accounting for the soul. It allows you to find peace with your past and reclaim the energy that is tied up in these old wounds. Here is how you create your forgiveness ledger. You will need a journal or notebook. dedicated only to this practice. You will create 2 columns. On the left side, the heading is the debt. On the right side, the heading is the forgiveness. Under the debt column, you will list every specific financial event that still carries an emotional charge for you. Again, no censorship. The $5,000 I invested with my friend that I never saw again. The time I bought that expensive car on impulse and regretted it for years. The money my parents spent on my education that I feel I wasted. The promotion I didn't ask for because I was afraid. Be as specific as possible. The goal is to bring these individual moments out of the shadows. As you write each one, allow yourself to feel the associated emotion, the anger, the embarrassment, the sadness. Now comes the alchemical part. For each item in the debt column, you must write a corresponding entry in the forgiveness column. This entry must do 2 things. It must offer forgiveness, and it must extract the lesson. This requires you to shift from the perspective of the victim to the perspective of the wise student. For the $5,000 I invested with my friend, the forgiveness entry might be, I forgive my friend for his choices, and I forgive myself for being overly trusting. The lesson I received from this was invaluable. To always do my own due diligence, and never mix finance and friendship without clear agreements. I release this debt. The lesson was worth the price. For the expensive car, it might be. I forgive my past self for making an impulsive decision based on ego. He was trying to feel a sense of worth the only way he knew how. The lesson was profound. Material things do not create lasting happiness. I'm grateful for this teaching. The debt is forgiven. For the promotion I didn't ask for, it could be, I forgive myself for letting fear hold me back. I was operating from old programming of unworthiness. The gift of this experience is the powerful awareness of my own value. It will never happen again. I release this regret. It has become fuel for my confidence. Do you feel the power in this? You are not erasing the past. You are transmuting it. You are transforming your greatest financial pains into your most valuable assets, wisdom, resilience, and self-awareness. This is not a one-time exercise. Your forgiveness ledger is a living document. Whenever a new memory of a past wound surfaces, you can add it to the ledger and perform this healing process. A woman I worked with had been carrying the shame of a failed business for over a decade. It was her great secret, her proof of failure. We worked through it in her forgiveness ledger. The debt was immense. Lost savings, strained relationships. But as she wrote the forgiveness entry, she had a breakthrough. She wrote, I forgive myself for the failure. The gift of this experience was discovering my own incredible strength. I survived something I thought would destroy me. I am not a failure. I am a survivor. In that moment, 10 years of shame dissolved. She reclaimed her power. Within 6 months, she had launched a new, wildly successful venture, built on the solid foundation of the wisdom she gained from her failure. The 12th principle is this: you must balance your emotional books. Use the forgiveness ledger to systematically turn every liability from your past into a hard-won asset. Clear the debts of blame and regret, and you will free up an immense amount of creative energy to build your abundant future. Principle 13. Embodying prosperity, daily abundance rituals. We have done so much deep internal work. We have reprogrammed the mind, healed the past, and aligned with our purpose. Now we must ensure that this new state of being is not just a temporary peak experience, but becomes our new, stable reality. We do this by weaving our intention into the fabric of our daily lives. We do this through small, consistent daily rituals that reinforce the frequency of abundance. Your reality is built upon your daily habits. Your current financial situation is the result of your past daily thoughts, beliefs, and actions. To create a new reality, you must install new daily practices. These rituals are not meant to be another thing on your to-do list. They should be moments of joy, presence, and connection to the feeling of prosperity. They are anchors that keep you tethered to your new abundant identity throughout the day. Here are 3 simple but profound daily rituals you can begin today. First, the morning gratitude rampage. Before you check your phone, before you let the world rush in, take just 60 seconds. Lie in bed and begin to list things you are grateful for, starting with the simple and expanding outward. I am so grateful for this comfortable bed. I'm grateful for the warmth of these blankets. I'm grateful for the air I am breathing. I'm grateful for the hot water I'm about to shower in. I'm grateful for the coffee I will soon taste. I'm grateful for the opportunities this day holds. Feel the gratitude swell in your chest. This practice tunes your energy to the frequency of "I already have so much" first thing in the morning. It sets the tone for a day of seeing abundance everywhere, rather than focusing on lack. Second, the mirror of worth exercise. At some point in your day, perhaps while brushing your teeth, take a moment to look yourself directly in the eyes in the mirror. This can be intensely uncomfortable at first, because the mirror reflects back everything you believe about yourself. Your task is to hold your own gaze with compassion and speak a declaration of your worth aloud. It could be, "I see you, I love you. You are worthy of all the abundance the universe has to offer simply because you exist." Or, "I am a powerful creator and I am open and ready to receive." It may feel awkward. Your inner critic will scream. Do it anyway. Day after day, you are looking past the conditioned self and speaking directly to the sovereign soul within. You are reinforcing the new programming of worthiness. Third, the evening evidence log. Before you go to sleep, take out a journal and write down at least 3 pieces of evidence from your day that prove abundance is flowing to you. This is crucial for training your brain to see what is working. Our minds have a natural negativity bias. We focus on what's wrong. This ritual retrains that focus. The evidence does not have to be huge. It could be 1, someone bought me a coffee. 2, I found a parking spot right in front of the store. 3, I received an unexpected compliment. Or it could be bigger. I signed a new client. I received an unexpected check. By consciously looking for and recording evidence of abundance, you are proving to your subconscious mind that the new reality is already here. You are creating a feedback loop of positivity and expectation. A client, a freelance artist, felt he was always struggling. He started the evening evidence log. On the first day, he could barely think of anything, but he forced himself. I found a beautiful feather on my walk. My favorite song came on the radio. My pen didn't run out of ink. Small things. But he kept at it. Within a few weeks, his lists were getting longer and more significant. A past client contacted me for a new project. I sold a print online. Someone shared my work and I got 50 new followers. He hadn't changed his art. He had changed his focus. By focusing on the evidence of what was working, he energetically invited more of it in. The 13th principle is about integration. Abundance is not an idea you think about. It is a state you inhabit. Through these small daily rituals, you are constantly practicing the feeling state of prosperity. You are making abundance your new home, not just a place you visit during meditation. Principle 14, the quantum perspective on wealth manifestation. Let us now zoom out from the personal and psychological to the universal and energetic. Let us look at the creation of wealth through the lens of quantum physics, because it provides a stunningly accurate scientific model for the spiritual principles we have been discussing. In the old Newtonian world, reality was solid, predictable, and separate from us. We were small beings in a vast mechanical universe. To create something, you had to apply physical force. Quantum physics shattered that illusion. It revealed that at the subatomic level, everything we perceive as solid is actually 99.9% empty space, filled with a vibrating field of infinite potential. Everything, your body, the chair you're sitting on, the money in your bank, is all made of the same thing, energy. And this energy exists as a wave of pure possibility until it is observed. It is the act of consciousness, of observation, that collapses the wave of potential into a particle, a tangible experience we call reality. This is not spiritual theory. This is the foundation of modern physics, and its implications are staggering. It means that you are not separate from the field of potential. You are the field of potential. You are a conscious observer, and your focus, your attention, your energy is what calls forth reality from the infinite field of possibility. So, how does this relate to wealth? The quantum field contains the potential for every possible reality. A reality where you are broke, and a reality where you are limitlessly abundant, both exist as waves of possibility right now. The reality you experience is determined by the frequency you are broadcasting. Your dominant thoughts, beliefs, and emotions create an electromagnetic signature. This signature is constantly scanning the quantum field and collapsing the wave of potential that is a perfect match for your signal. This is why acting as if and embodying the feeling state is so powerful. When you feel the gratitude, peace, and freedom of wealth before it has manifested, you are generating the electromagnetic signature of that reality. You are tuning your receiver to that specific frequency in the quantum field. And by the laws of physics, that reality must manifest in your experience. The field has no choice but to deliver to you a reflection of who you are being. I like to explain it with the analogy of a radio. The radio station for Abundance FM is broadcasting 24/7. It always has been. If you are tuned to Scarcity AM, all you will hear is static, struggle, and lack. You can't hear Abundance FM from that frequency. You can't beg or force the radio to play a different station. Your only job is to change your own dial. The inner work we have been discussing, healing unworthiness, releasing the past, aligning with purpose, is the work of changing your energetic dial. This quantum perspective liberates you from the feeling of being a victim of circumstance. Your circumstances are simply the printout of your past frequency. They are old news. You are not your circumstances. You are the creator of your circumstances. Your point of power is always in this present moment. Right now you can choose a new thought. Right now you can choose a new feeling. Right now you can begin to broadcast a new signal. This also explains why inspired action is so important. When you receive an intuitive nudge and you act on it, you are physically moving your body through space and time in alignment with the new frequency. You are demonstrating to the field that you are serious. You are collaborating with the collapse of the wave. This concept is profound. Take a moment and let it settle. In the comments below, I want you to answer this question. What is one small way you can begin to broadcast the signal of your abundant future today? Reading and sharing these intentions creates a powerful collective energy. The 14th principle is the ultimate empowerment. You are a quantum creator. Your consciousness is the most powerful technology in the universe. Stop focusing on your current solid reality and start focusing on managing your energetic frequency. Tune yourself to the reality you wish to experience and watch as the quantum field reorganizes itself around your new state of being. Principle 15. The final act. Reclaiming your birthright. We have journeyed far. We have dug into the depths of our psyche. We have healed the wounds of the past, and we have peered into the very fabric of reality. We have gathered 15 principles, 15 keys to unlock the prosperity that has always been waiting for us. And now we arrive at the final act, the culmination of all our work. This final principle is not something you do. It is something you become. It is the full, complete, and unshakable embodiment of your sacred entitlement. It is the final, decisive act of reclaiming your birthright. After all the work, all the releasing, all the reprogramming, there comes a point where you must simply decide. You must draw a line in the sand of your own consciousness and declare with every fiber of your being, this is who I am now. I'm an abundant being. I'm a channel for prosperity. It is my nature to thrive. It is done. This is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of surrender. It is surrendering the struggle. Surrendering the belief that you have to earn it, prove it, or chase it. It is a quiet, peaceful, and powerful acceptance of your true nature. Reclaiming your birthright means you no longer look outside of yourself for validation or permission. You stop checking your bank account to see if you are abundant yet. You know you are abundant, and you trust that your outer world will inevitably conform to your inner knowing. It means you stop apologizing for your desires. You recognize that your desires for more impact, more freedom, more joy, more creation are not selfish. They are the universe desiring to express itself more fully through you. Your desires are sacred impulses. It means you walk through the world with a new posture, an energy of calm confidence. You are no longer needy. You are no longer desperate. You operate from a place of fullness, of knowing that you are eternally provided for. This energy is incredibly magnetic. People, opportunities, and resources are naturally drawn to someone who is not trying to get something from them, but is simply radiating a state of wholeness. I remember the exact moment this shifted for me. I had done years of this work. And one day I was walking by a river, and a profound sense of peace washed over me. The thought arose clear as a bell. Oh, it was never about the money. It was always about me remembering who I am. And now that I remember, the money doesn't matter, which is why it can now flow freely. In that moment, all the striving ceased. All the anxiety dissolved. I had reclaimed my birthright, not to $1 million, but to the inner state of peace and worthiness that is the true source of all wealth. So this is the final and most important principle. After you have learned the techniques and practiced the rituals, you must let them all go. You must stop doing abundance and start being abundance. It is a subtle but profound shift from seeking to knowing, from becoming to being. It is the ultimate letting go. It is the final, peaceful arrival into the truth of who you have always been. An infinitely worthy, unconditionally loved, and eternally abundant expression of life itself. Your birthright is not something you acquire. It is something you finally, fully come home to. You have now journeyed through the 15 alchemical principles. You hold the map. But remember, a map is only useful if you walk the path. This is not a journey to be completed in a day. It is a new way of life. A new way of being. Return to these principles whenever you feel the old programming of scarcity and guilt begin to surface. Each time you listen, you will integrate them on a deeper level. You have the power within you to transmute every aspect of your financial reality. The lead of your past does not have to define your future. You are the alchemist of your own life. You hold the power to turn it all into gold. Your journey with us does not have to end here. To your left, you will find our playlist, The Foundations of Abundance, which is the perfect place to continue building upon the powerful groundwork we have laid today. And on the right, you will find a video the universe has selected specifically for your journey next. Trust the guidance. If this work has served you, subscribe to The Abundance Alchemist and join our community of creators who are committed to building lives of profound, soul-aligned prosperity. This is Elias Vance, reminding you, abundance is not something you acquire. It is something you become.